Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about disappointing sales for a major PlayStation exclusive, and Switch 2 is not Nintendo's exclusive focus. It's going to be a good one because we have Chuck Zimmerheld on the show. Chuck, how are you doing?
Doing really well. I'm glad we're talking about disappointing sales because you have your most disappointing guest on today, and I'm ready to meet the need.
I come daily with that energy, Chuck. How dare you try to take that away from me? How are you doing?
Doing really well. Man, I've been having a blast with the DK64 streams.
Me too. It's a good time.
I don't mean to always end up staying till the very end, but like the last 2 days.
Oh, you should, yeah.
Yeah. Love fucking
I would if I could. Yeah, it's. I'm glad you're hanging in there with them. It's got a good energy. I think everyone's enjoying it. I see that here in the chat for this show. We've had 3 more people join Giant Bomb Premium on YouTube. Thank you everybody for doing that. Chuck, since you're here, tell everybody all the ways they could support us, like as part of this big marathon stream that we're doing.
I would love to do that. So we are tracking new subs. That's important. New. So you don't have a current subscription. And if you sign up on the site at giantbomb.com/join for a yearly or a monthly, it'll add progress to our current goal, which is a community voted blight. You guys get to choose who gets blighted out of the owners, and you get to choose the game, that's a lot of control you guys are giving them. The brand new thing we're doing is on YouTube. You can sign up for a YouTube membership. We're putting all the premium content from the last year and going forward, all the premium content, it's going on there. You're also getting ad-free versions of all the shows and stuff that we do normally, and that also progresses the tracker. Yearly is the best bang for your buck if you really want to get that community blight going. That's how you can do that. But yeah, so those are all hitting right now. It's all going to the progress, and then when Mikey pulls that progress bar back up, you'll see where it's at.
Yeah, I get there are always some angst among people about like hey, it's I've been a supporter for a long time. How can we help contribute towards this? We're always working on that stuff, everybody. But yeah, it's important for us to keep activating like new people, getting people excited about it. And we want to be thinking about it for this sort of thing because it forces us to come up with all these fun reasons to bring in new people into the fold. But we'll find ways for you guys to contribute and support us, even if it's just like increasing excitement and all that stuff. So yeah, I guess if you're been a supporter for a long time, tell a friend. Go in your other Discords. Tell them what we're doing here. Tell them to come watch Mike play Donkey Kong. Honestly, who doesn't want to watch that? You should want to watch that, and your friends should want to watch that as well.
And we do have gift subscriptions you can do on the website. That's giantbomb.com/gift dash. Nope. I'm going to start that over.
Yeah, take it again. Yeah, Jan, let's start the show over.
Gift dash premium. You can go there, send yourself a code, and then give a code to a friend who doesn't have an account on the website. They can sign up. And during checkout for premium, they can use that. We're trying to enable gift memberships on YouTube, but that requires legal battling with Google, funny enough. So, sure.
Yeah, and it's not like talking to Google's lawyers. It's talking to Google's bots, which don't care. But hey, we got it working. And by we, I mean Chuck. All right, let's explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member, all that stuff, ad-free shows. It's going to get you premium shows, early access to the Bully Endurance Run. That's happening right now. You get early access right this week. It's going to be live for everybody next week. So if you're like, oh, I want to watch that, don't have the money, we get it. We promise that to you. You're going to get it next week. But if you want to get it early, that's one of the bonuses you get from premium. So go ahead and join up. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Saros. Had a lukewarm start. That's a quote, with 300,000 plus copies sold in 2 weeks, according to an analytics firm. This comes from Chris Scullion over at VGC. PlayStation 5 exclusive Saros had a lukewarm start and may not make its development costs back, according to a video game analytics firm. Norwegian firm Alinea Analytics, which I've always pointed out, when I talk to people in the industry, they do say Alinea is pretty good at these estimates. It's never perfect, but they are usually closer than just about anyone else. But even if there's like a huge margin of error here, 300,000 copies sold is like not probably what you want to be seeing. And that's what Alinea is saying. It's 300,000 copies sold, earning around 22 million in revenue for Sony. The company suggests that given the game's reported development budget was around 76 million, and God, how can we usually can't trust those numbers either, but again, that's an estimate. It may struggle to break even as a result. According to the firm, however, the game's data doesn't point to an entirely negative situation. Of the players who have bought the game, 40% have played it for more than 15 hours, and 30% have played it for more than 20 hours. That is pretty impressive engagement for a roguelike of this difficulty profile only 2 weeks into release. Alinea's head of market analysis, Reese Elliott, stated. Shouts out to Reese. Yeah, I mean, well, to me, Chuck, this is a story that is very simple. This game costs $70, and we're still not used to that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly like when we were reading through this, it's exactly what I thought. I think there's tons of people that are ready to pounce on this thing when it gets like a $10 discount, $20 discount or whatever, especially in the fall. So I think, it's not all bad for them. I think that is going to happen when it goes on sale. That's going to hit. But yeah, like Reese points out here, and I love this like context from Reese, who knows what he's talking about. It's a difficult game and it's a niche game. And then you slapped a $70 price tag on that. So that's going to be tough. That's just tough uphill sledding. I
think people do have this idea in their head that like rogue likes are niche. And it's like, I think they are particular, but like, Slay the Spire 2 sold 3 million copies in like 2 weeks or something like that. But it was much cheaper. I just think there's a value proposition that people get in their head, rightfully so, I think, about roguelikes. This is a game where they build it in such a way that they can not reuse, but like get the most out of all their assets. You're going to be spending a lot of time in the same environments over and over again, and that is the structure of the game. And a lot of people really like that, and that's the right thing for this game. But I think people then say, something about that feels a little less than. And then you see $70, and it's just so easy to begin that mental bargaining, that mental like sort of conversation with yourself about, am I getting my money's worth? And every little sort of dent in the armor of a game like works against it, and that builds up quickly. And people are already hurting. People already have huge backlogs. And I think people do kind of think, hey, I enjoyed Returnal. This looks pretty similar. I don't see why I need to play it right away. This is one that I can wait on. And I think that is what is happening for most people. I don't think this is a game that no one wants to play, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I do think the decision to not have this be a PC port, that's something I see all the time too.
Yeah.
I think that was a weird decision. I think they probably regret that one a little bit.
Starting with this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can't press that button right now. You can't say, okay, we need to announce a PC release, because that makes people wait even longer to go get this game, right? So, but I imagine we get some kind of like PC announcement from them within the next year, but that's just my guess.
Yeah, we we have this other story here. I guess we could just talk about this now. Sony says PlayStation Plus gets only 4 to 6 day one games a year, and those are mostly going to be indies, and they basically plan to continue their strategy going forward. Unlike Xbox's pricier Game Pass alternative, PlayStation Plus doesn't tend to include many day one games, whichever tier you subscribe to. The cheapest option, PlayStation Plus Essential, predominantly includes older games for you to add to your library. Meanwhile, the more expensive tier, PlayStation Plus Extra, prioritizes a large catalog of legacy content, while PlayStation Plus Premium is more about cloud streaming and retro games. Some recent examples of day one games have included Stray and Blueprints, but in an interview with The Game Business, Sony's third-party bigwig Chris Svensson reiterated his employer's stance on including new games within its subscription. We don't have very many day one titles. We do them largely for indies, and there's probably between 4 to 6 a year that we focus on. For much of this generation, Sony was under intense pressure to follow the Game Pass model, with fans demanding the company include first and third-party games day one. I don't know if I saw a ton of that demand, but people certainly would like that. But after falling short of Microsoft's lofty subscriber targets and doubling the price to $30 last year for Game Pass, the conversation has fizzled out. The Redmond firm recently reduced the price of its subscription, but removed Call of Duty in the process, including it came at a $300 million cost, according to reports. So I think this is, for me, Chuck, all part of this bigger conversation of, both these companies, Microsoft and PlayStation, are oscillating. They're not exactly sure how to get the most out of the games that they're putting out or the services they offer. Game Pass certainly is going back and forth on pricing increases, and including Call of Duty or not. I mean, there was a time where every day one game was a part of every tier of Game Pass. That's now exclusive to the most expensive Ultimate tier. And then meanwhile, over at PlayStation, it's like they are pulling back from, as you pointed out, putting games out on PC. And they're like, because we want to make our games feel special on the PlayStation. We think that's where we get the most value. And I don't know, something about like Saros coming out and fizzling a little bit makes it feel like there's just something happening where people are like, this is the only thing I feel like is an event for PlayStation is when they put out their most expensive games. But I don't necessarily know that the answer to that is, well, then Saros should have been in PlayStation Plus, Chuck. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if that would have moved the needle for them, right? Because like a 70, you already have a PS5. If you have this hardware, you're more of a spender. What am I trying to say? They want to move units of this game. I don't think packaging it in any way is gonna. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like you want your expensive games to sell your consoles. Does that feel still like the common wisdom?
Yes, I mean that's where it seems like everyone's kind of shifting back toward that right now. Yes,
these guys are so frustrating because they're so quarter minded.
Yes,
like their plans are change every single quarter, and it's going to depend on the reports that come through after a fiscal quarter. So I feel like you said oscillating earlier. I think that's exactly spot on. They're just going to ping pong back and forth, responding to market changes on hardware. Whether or not the subscriptions are actually moving the needle for them or profitable for them. I do think like sticking with indies on these subscription plans makes a lot of sense. And I will say the PS Plus Essential, having like stuff like God of War on, I think it has God of War, games like that on it.
Yes, that's
good. I picked up a PlayStation 5 after kind of being away from PlayStation for a while. That felt like I was getting something good out of that, like a good deal.
And that's who it's really for at this point. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
It's and honestly, it's good for those indie games, right? The handful of indie games that do pop up in PlayStation Plus a couple of times a year, they almost always do make a splash. But then it's like, why not have that same effect on your bigger games, especially if they aren't like, I don't know. Saros just doesn't feel like the event that a PlayStation game is supposed to feel like. I just don't know like who to blame here. I think a part of that is PlayStation has trained its audience to expect the biggest of the big, the most expensive of the expensive. Like just everything needs to be turned up to 11 and 12 and 13. And if it's not like the next God of War, and really at this point, it's like even the next God of War game feels like it's not going to be able to capture the excitement that happened with like God of War 2018, or the next Last of Us game wouldn't be able to do that either. We'll see what happens with Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, but these things, they get attention at this point because they feel impossible to make. And if it doesn't feel like that, this urgency to go out and spend $70 just isn't there. And it feels like PlayStation's painted themselves into a corner a little bit. And then that does make me wonder, then why not put this out on PC where just a few more people can play it and buy it?
I think it was a weird gamble, especially on a new IP, right? Oh, yeah, like Pragmatic coming out like around the same time is like such a perfect like thing where they can do like pretty direct comparisons, right? Brand new IP. Pragmatic did not do the exclusivity, right? And I think, is that priced a little bit lower? Was that $60 or $70?
It might be 60. Yes, it's 60.
Yeah. Yep. So someone in chat had the exact same line of thinking as me. Yep. $60. I think they have to be like looking at those two and going like, shit. Right.
Yeah. I there was definitely a moment a couple of months ago where I'm like, they got away with it. We had those arguments about $70 when that was first happening earlier in the generation. And we all sort of we whined and bitched and moaned, and again, rightfully so. But the games are just $70 now. We just have accepted it. And it's like, oh wait, no, it doesn't feel like that actually got over the hump. Maybe you can point to Mario Kart there, trying to move it up even more to $80, and nothing else could get away with $80. Borderlands 4 tried to do it and pulled back at the last moment and went back to $70 before launch. And I think that it got everyone like thinking. It's like, you know, they could charge whatever they want. That's right. But I do not have to buy it at launch, and I will wait. And if they don't drop in price, I simply will not buy it. That is a mindset that has settled in, I think, with consumers. And you know, part of that is out of necessity as people try to save money for essentials as those all continue to go up in price. I mean, Chuck, we just got the inflation numbers. We're back up to 4% inflation, baby. Let's fucking go. USA, everybody. It's getting worse out there again. And so all of like the training we've done over the last 5 years, as we've had persistent hyperinflation for half a decade now, people have like really trained themselves to look for a deal. Those instincts are kicking back in. And this is the exact kind of game, Saros, that will get hurt most by that, I think. And I just don't know how these companies sort of deal with that, because the way that they make these games on a timeline of 5 to 7 years, or, you know, maybe Saros is like a 4-year development cycle, something like that. That's still a very long time. It's hard to plan ahead. And really, the only tool you have in your toolbox is, like as a big publisher, is make your game more expensive looking. And that seems like a bad strategy right now.
Yeah, they tried that, right? This game looks like hot. It's hot stuff. I mean, Rahul Kohli's on this.
Yes,
thing.
absolutely. Looking very good.
It is gorgeous. I think I'm like 5 hours into it. I'm not very far into it, but I'm chewing it up. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, that extra investment on top of what they did with Returnal doesn't feel like it's paying off. Although I do think it really is more market forces, right? I wanted to yell recession indicator when you were talking about people not being more frugal, not wanting to bite on a $70 game, right? Yeah, I have to imagine this is like a failure almost on like the part of Sony, right? When they're talking probably with the studio about like where they're going to price their game, like what they're going to do. This feels like Housemarque just got screwed in that conversation and that analysis.
I really do feel for Housemarque, who does feel like it was implied to them. I bet it's always a two-way street, this idea of, a studio gets told by a publisher what they have to do. And it's like, yeah, in a way, because what happens is the people that hold the money want to hear something, and the people who make the games know what they want to hear, and they sort of shape their pitches to fit that mold, to fit the environment. And when I look at Returnal and the Saros, games that I do think are both very good, you could just kind of see that they were made to fit the PlayStation mold. And it's like, oh yeah, what that really means at the end of the day is these games are bigger, more expensive, and then have to sell more. And it's just, yeah, that's an uphill battle. And they kind of, this is a studio that once just made little arcade games that did surprisingly well, and now they have to sort of stand alongside the Naughty Dogs, and that's going to be a tough thing to pull off. All right, let's keep going here. On the other side of the fence, Xbox, it's been reevaluating exclusives since Ashish Sharma's taken over as head of Microsoft Gaming, which is now just Xbox again. They got rid of Microsoft Gaming. But that is always getting, different indicators there. As, for example, Hellblade 2 on PS5 has been considered a pretty big success over there. This is from Liam Croft at Push Square. Microsoft has confirmed, that it's going to have another think about its stance on first-party Xbox games being ported to other platforms, as new lead Ashish Sharma looks to improve the Xbox brand. However, for those titles it's already put on PS5, they're often considered a success. The latest one is Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, which was ported to PS5 in an enhanced edition last year. Ninja Theory has reported in its latest financial statement, first link dated 10th of May, a profit of £5 million and the successful release of Hellblade 2 on PlayStation 5. It's now turning its attention to future project work, meaning more Ninja Theory games are on their way. They did not share the hard numbers, so we don't have a great way to compare and contrast here, Chuck. They just said successful release of Hellblade 2 on PlayStation 5. We don't know what they consider to be a success, but I bet that this is right in line with what we've seen. When these Xbox games go to PlayStation 5, a pretty big audience jumps on them. I would not expect Forza numbers for this. Obviously, Forza is this unicorn. But yeah, this is every one of these stories has got to make it harder for Ashish Sharma and her team to be like, and now let's put everything back on Xbox exclusively, right?
Isn't it funny watching Ashish Sharma tackle all of these problems and challenges and questions that Phil Spencer had to deal with over like the last, decade or whatever. She's reevaluating every single one of them.
Every single one of them
is probably going to make the exact same, like, just flip flop between choices that he did. I hope. I keep thinking and wondering when she's going to be hit with her first, like, we need to reduce headcount, right? Something happened at Microsoft. We need to reduce, and Asha make the call. Who's it going to be, right? Like, that's going to happen to her at some point. I wonder if she gets like a little bit of cover. But
it feels like she's in a grace period right now, because I thought there were like rumors, right, that like there were going to be a headcount reduction at Xbox a few weeks back under Asha Sharma, and I wouldn't be surprised, Chuck, if it was like she's like, guys, like, give me some time. Like, that can't be like one of the first things that happens under my leadership. Give me a second. Like, let me at least get to SGF. Let me put out a few games, and then we could talk about that. It does feel like it's coming, though.
Yeah, I know we're getting sort of off base from Hellblade 2, but one more thing about Asha specifically is working for a company like Microsoft. I will say this with like probably some unearned confidence, but it does not matter how well Xbox does. It doesn't.
Yes.
If Microsoft has a bad quarter, if their cloud strategy doesn't work out, like they committed to shipping to OpenAI, right? Like bare metal servers and stuff like that. If they miss that, if that deal goes somewhere else, Xbox gets cut. It doesn't matter if they sold 1 billion fucking Xboxes and tons of exclusive titles. If that happens, Xbox takes cuts. And I think that's what happened with Phil. And for gamers, it's like, we're not thinking about the larger ecosystem of Microsoft when we evaluate, like, why did they close, Arcane Austin or whatever? That is just the circumstance that she's going to live in and have to get used to. And yeah, I hope she does have a grace period in this first year.
Yeah, yes, if for no other reason than just give some people at Microsoft more time to figure stuff out and have a little bit more protection. Yeah, it's when it comes to Hellblade 2 specifically, or PlayStation 5 ports, I think it's going to be very hard for them to look at the numbers and decide we're going to be done putting stuff on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
If anything, they just go, well, what happened with Hellblade 2? Well, Hellblade 2 was a delayed, exclusivity window. It was on Xbox and PC, and then eventually went to PlayStation 5, and everyone seems pretty happy with that. And we made money, and the studio over there called it a success. Maybe we should just keep doing things that way. And that feels like the middle ground that they will continue to settle on. Of, hey, we can have our cake and eat it too a little bit here, but that doesn't sort of change the narrative around why you need to get an Xbox, which is what that conversation is really about. But I think that's my point here, Chuck, that the conversation won't change around that. I still, like, coming out of all this, when they finally make a decision after probably weeks and weeks and tens of, hundreds of hours of meetings, I think they're going to settle in the same place where they don't super care if you buy an Xbox. They super care if you buy Call of Duty. And I don't think that's going to change. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Xbox, do I really want to be a hardware company? I don't know if I want to be a hardware company in the year 2026. That actually sounds bad, right? And they already did all the hard work. Like, they already killed all their brand loyalty. So it's like, if you already did it, why don't you just focus on making some good games and put them out wherever people want to play them, right? That feels weird, because like traditionally, like I was a big Xbox person, even to like the Xbox One generation. Like, I loved that shit. I had a really good time. I think their operating system's better. That feels weird talking about Microsoft and saying that, but I feel like it's better on a console, and I liked their social stuff better. It was easier to play with my friends and everything, but it's like, you already did the hard work. You already ripped off the Band-Aid. Just put the games out on PC and PlayStation. Give it like 6 months or whatever before you put it out on PlayStation 5, but still, just do it. I don't know. I think that's where she's trying to ingratiate herself, and she's listening to a lot of angry people and what they were angry at Phil about. And yeah, you could respond to that, or, just take the bad work he already did and just benefit from it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, right. Moving sort of the football back in the field on your own at a certain point feels a little bit silly. I get the, like, her wanting to ingratiate herself is an indicator, and it's on its own. It is, she obviously has some marching orders to go in there and do something that feels good for people who are Xbox fans. But you made the right point of that. This is not, if anything, this is not it's the tail on the dog, and it's not a tail that even wags the dog, Xbox. It is the thing that matters over there is their services. It is AI. And that is, even when, like you said, if that goes bad, even when it goes good, as they continue to grow in that space, they're like, we need more money to put into AI, take that from gaming and put it over here. So that was already happening. And if it goes bad, it'll be a lot worse. It'll be much more of a bloodbath. But yeah, I think that we will get a better idea going into this SGF where they show us their games. We kind of hear the tenor of the conversation as they explain their thought process. And then as they launch this next hardware, we'll really know at that point, like what they think. But I still don't know if they know what they think in this moment. It's like those decisions might not have been made.
It sucks ass that they probably made the best console hardware of this generation in the Xbox Series X. I honestly believe that. I really
like using it.
Yeah. And then just everything around it and just didn't pan out that way, right?
Yeah, it was too late.
Yeah.
Just too late. All right, so let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Capcom doing real well, as always. Somehow Silent Hill is just back and better than ever. We'll get into all of that and more. If you want to skip out on these, go to giantbomb.com/join and become a premium member. We will be right back. All right, we are back. It's Game Mess Mornings. That's Chuck. I'm Grubb. Let's do this next story. Capcom updates its game sales figures with its best ever annual financial report. This is from Alberto Garrido at Game Reactor. Year after year, we have been reporting on and enjoying many of the releases from Capcom's video game division. Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, Monster Hunter, Pragmata, and of course, Resident Evil have earned the respect and acclaim of critics and the public alike, with each new installment or with the launch in the case of Pragmata. And today we see how the company has fared in its latest financial report. In the report's presentation material, we see the list of Capcom's 13 best-selling games for the 2026 financial year has been updated along with their total sales figures. The cash cow is Resident Evil, and its latest installment, Requiem, stands out here as the franchise's best-selling launch in history. Meanwhile, long-running franchises such as Devil May Cry 5 and Monster Hunter Rise continue to sell incredibly well, particularly Dante's hack-and-slash title, which has just celebrated 7 years on the market. Monster Hunter Wilds, even with its impressive total of 11 million copies, seems to be lagging behind its graphically less powerful and older cousins. That's the story. And Monster Hunter's always in a weird place. Yeah, this is they sold more games than they've ever sold before in an annual period, Chuck. Resident Evil Requiem is at 6.9 million copies sold. The Resident Evil franchise just crossed 200 million copies sold. They have all this energy, and it seems like with every new Resident Evil game, it doesn't just sort of get the benefit of all the excitement around the series. It like deposits more energy back into the franchise and creates more excitement for all of those games, and then that folds back in on the next game, and it's this virtuous cycle, as our friend Jim Ryan once said. And I think, like, obviously Resident Evil is the poster child here. But they're kind of trying to replicate that across the board, and it feels like, Monster Hunter and Street Fighter, maybe a little bit aside, those kind of have their own cadence of releases and how they do things. But it feels like, hey, they're going to try to do that with Pragmata eventually. They're going to try to do that with Devil May Cry, and it could all work. But at the very least, they have Resident Evil just delivering quarter after quarter. Capcom's got it figured out, it feels like. Chuck, what do you think?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. I was thinking about, like, Capcom tent poles, and I mean, they're listed here, right? Resident Evil being like the biggest one, Monster Hunter. I started squinting and like really, I was like looking at Devil May Cry and Street Fighter 6, and I'm wondering if you're Capcom, you probably need to do some like hard evaluate, because those are not as like the runaway successes of these others on the list, right? Street Fighter 6, is that 2023? Devil May Cry.
That sounds right, yeah.
Right? Probably.
That sounds right.
Someone can correct me. Devil May Cry's 5 is what? Is that 2020? When is that? That's an old
it was 2019, I think, yeah.
I wonder if we don't see one of those for a while, and if we do, it'd like look completely different. But I think so. This happened with Monster Hunter World, and then Village. I think this really happened where obviously Resident Evil and Monster Hunter are ubiquitous for gamers and like very well known, well respected franchises, beloved franchises. But I feel like those two games, Village and Monster Hunter World, broke through like not a crazy ceiling, but they broke into like a bigger consciousness with people buying and playing games. And then I think Requiem is like a full beneficiary of that effect. They just got a little bit bigger. They're supporting more of the tent, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I think they could keep finding ways to like slowly do that with more and more of their games. They do not seem to get out over their skis. They don't seem to just take big wild swings. They sort of methodically approach. Like they're like, hey, let's see. Well, you know, things get out of hand in terms of like pragmatic. Probably took a lot longer to get out the door than they intended it to take. That's that is the trouble that they have, that every publisher and developer seems to have, where it's like, hey, scope creep and just the normal hurdles of development continue to cause headaches about just getting a game shipped, and everyone experiences that, including Capcom. But when they deliver, it's like, hey, no, we're going to deliver something that is very much what our audience wants. And we have curated and sort of nursed that audience to expect our games. And so we have this sort of potential large cohort of consumers ready to be activated the second we drop something. And we sort of benefit off each other. They get a game they really want. We get to sell a game to a lot of people. And, that it's easier said than done, obviously. But it's not impossible to replicate because, next story here, Konami's Silent Hill comeback looks real. Konami announced Silent Hill F has surpassed 2 million copies worldwide. That's cumulative shipments and digital sales. Konami also says Silent Hill 2 has passed 6 million players, including shipped units, store downloads, and subscription service players. Silent Hill has somehow gone from Punchline to a fully functioning franchise, Chuck. Yeah, I think just a couple of years ago, you talk about Silent Hill, and the only reason you do that is to be like, man, look at the Silent Hill fans over there. Aren't they miserable? And isn't that funny? And now it's like, look at those Silent Hill fans. Aren't they miserable, but also secretly kind of happy that their games rule school now? Konami is figuring it out too, and that felt impossible at one time. So all these other companies that are like feeling around in the dark, trying to find their way to this audience of people who are willing to spend money on video games. I mean, obviously it's not as easy as just saying, just do what Capcom's doing, but Konami did it and it's working.
It does feel like that's exactly what they're looking at and doing.
Yeah.
Right? It really helps when you have some like strong legacy IP that people are very fond of your older entries. You get to have, your off releases get to be remakes, and then you get to do some new stuff. And because you're on the goodwill of a remake, right, then you get to do that new thing and people are more receptive. Like, maybe they understand what's going on here, what we're doing. Man, that game fucks, huh? Silent Hill F. Yep. Really good. Yeah.
And we've had a lot of stories now today, Chuck, about how many people are playing the single player game. And, I always appreciate the people listening to the show as we have these conversations. But I forget, like, sometimes there's going to be people listening who will go, why do I care? I just want to play the games. And I'm not going to ever try to convince that person to care, because you should, if you are enjoying playing the games and that's all you care about, you're probably a happier person than I am. Just go keep doing that. But I can't help but like look at this stuff and try to understand how decisions get made in this industry. And what is happening today? What does that mean for the kinds of games we're going to get tomorrow? And there are people in this industry that listen to shows like this and like kind of work backward of like, okay, this is what the gamers are talking about. We had this hunch that if we try to do things like X, we might be able to see Y result. And they're having that conversation on that show where they're kind of saying the same thing. And I just like want to like get at that nugget of like what is going to move people to spend money on video games, because that is going to dictate the kinds of games that these companies think they can get away with making. And right now it's like there's a lot of reasons to be hopeless or to be sort of doom and gloom about this industry. But when we see things like things can work, and then we compare that to like, hey, Saros was disappointing. What went wrong there? And I just think it does feel like that value proposition. I think that was the one key thing here, that like $70 for Saros didn't make sense to people. $60 for Pragmata made sense to a lot more people, it felt like. And so what's the difference there? Because I don't think that like making those games would look all that different like from one to the other. But yeah, I just feel like, hey, you can make these games that can do well. You just gotta have to like work with what we are feeling as consumers right now, and we just want to feel like we're getting away with something. We're getting a bigger game than, and even though Pragmata and Resident Evil Requiem, Chuck, those are games that people like, hey, these are a little bit short. They're still selling, and then there's a huge number of people who are waiting for it to drop just a little bit in price, and will probably jump on it when it's $50. But we think the same is true of Saros. It's just like Pragmata and Resident Evil Requiem are also selling at their full price, which is what these companies need to see to kind of feel good about them. So as we like look at how all of these games are doing, if you were on the other side, if you were making games at a publisher, Chuck, how would you be feeling in this moment? Would you like feeling like there is reasons for confidence? Would you be doom and gloom? I don't know. How are you feeling about it?
Good product sells. Like that feels extremely true, right? And it sells if you're not also taxing your most loyal customers. So I'm like thinking about, I was just looking up, okay, Silent Hill F, that launched at $70. Sold pretty well, but also launched everywhere. It was on Windows, PlayStation, and Xbox. It's like, okay, so they priced it at a little bit of a premium, but they put it out everywhere. Saros, priced at a premium, and you're paying the tax of having to be on PlayStation hardware. It's like, okay, that's a little rough. And then you have Pragmata, who's seems like they're scraping in the most money out of the three, right? It seems like they're on that trajectory, and they priced a little lower, came out everywhere. I'm thinking like, if you're a game developer or a game publisher, game developer, you want your stuff accessible wherever it can be played. Oh man, especially if you can like optimizing it on Switch too.
Yeah,
that seems like a banger thing to do.
It seems like it's helping. Yeah,
that's what I would be thinking if I'm in the publishing business for sure.
All right, people have pointed out here coming out of the Capcom earnings report, they do have a slide in here about using generative AI. Capcom has built an internal multimodal generative AI system used for idea generation and concepting, AI-generated images, illustrations, and visual references, fictional in-game products, posters, snacks, props, prompt generation, and automated quality evaluation. The system reads text, images, and tables from design docs and outputs ideas automatically. If outputs don't meet requirements, the system auto-generates corrective prompts and retries. Capcom frames this as reducing routine, non-creative work and speeding up world-building tasks. They claim it allows one person to do brainstorming cycles that previously required multiple people. Now, Chuck, I'm in like a weird place with all of this because like every time I like try to think about what would stop AI from taking over, it's like nothing, because it's cheaper and faster and not necessarily better. But if it's cheaper and faster, companies are going to embrace it. I talked to you the other day about interchangeable parts back during World War II, and think about, hey, that was literally worse than what like Europe was doing, which was every part handmade, but it was cheaper and faster. So the whole world adopted it very quickly after World War II. That is the story of free markets. Free markets will just sort of let the path of least resistance, or the path of saving the most money and doing things the quickest, even if it's worse. And then when I see something like this, I'm like, okay, so generative AI feels a little bit different, because I go back to that quote that was on Twitter or whatever years ago at this point of, I want AI to do my dishes and clean my house so I can paint and make music, not I don't want the AI to paint and make music so that I have to clean my house. And that feels like that should be like the default human position. And then on top of that, you see this like, hey, this last line here, they claim it allows one person to do the brainstorming cycles that previously required multiple people. And it's like, haven't companies and especially executives been saying for years now, the reason we need to get back in the office is so we can get multiple people in the room so they can brainstorm together and we can have that serendipity of just the meeting of the minds. And now suddenly they're like, well, we just need one person doing this. And so, well, what's the difference? And it's obviously, they were paying a lease on an office and they wanted to they want to get use out of that. So they wanted people back in the office. Now they could see an opportunity to save money by having fewer people in the brainstorming session. So now that's their position. And it's just the going the way the wind blows is not what got Capcom to where it is in all those conversations we were just having. So it just feels like there is a pit they could fall into here, especially coming off of something like Pragmata, which was sort of a lampooning of AI, the whole moon being designed to look like AI, but designed by their own people. And now they are shifting into this instead. I don't know. What do you make of it?
Yeah, stepping on a rake, right?
Yeah.
And the exact kind of generative AI they're talking about, these are LLMs created on the backs of copyrighted materials, written materials that they scraped from websites. They swooped and stole images off of like Google search indexes, right? That's how these things are made. That's how OpenAI and Anthropic and everyone makes these things. It is theft, intellectual property theft.
Yep.
I don't know of any major in-use LLM that's like, we bought the rights to everything and they all signed off on this and then we trained it. That doesn't exist in my mind, at least, or it's not in wide use, or it sucks.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Yeah, this is just a full rake step. You're undercutting like the human element. I think about Star Trek a lot. I think about the Galactic Federation, where like, man, Roddenberry was thinking, because this problem in the future of humans are going to be a lot less suited to doing the work of machines at some point. It's an inevitability, because we're going to build things like LLMs, or going to build a factory that makes interchangeable parts. Yeah. And so we need people to be able to pursue their interest and pursue work, and then put a premium on that work by supporting them and floating them, doing stuff like universal basic income, right? So I often am thinking about the Federation and the Star Trek future and how we're not there, and we have a collection of world governments that are toothless and won't do anything to push back against these businesses that are just completely stealing human creative output and creating, entropy machines or whatever. I could really go on about Grubb.
I know, yeah, and it's like the thing that leads to that, a society that sort of that is the post what is called like when there's not a surplus of, or when there is a surplus of stuff. But yeah, like when you're in a society that has everything, all their needs met, that's great. But what happened before that? Like, what was the and in Star Trek it was
World War III.
World War III. There was years of fighting over resources and fighting over stuff and trying to control these things and making the model fit into the free market capitalist model. And it's something that is inherently sort of supposed to, like, it does not make sense for that, because it gets rid of thank you, post-scarcity society. Thank you, chat. Nice. And it's, that's the thing, that we do get told by the people who are selling us these LLMs, that you can be a Luddite and try to stand against it, but the Luddites were wrong. Eventually, this was good for workers, and we know, like, if we just read a little bit, that's not how it actually went down. It was 200 years of pain in places like the UK, where the Industrial Revolution began, before labor laws came into practice and really changed things. And that's actually what happened. And I'm not going to live for 200 years. So I'm not going to see the benefits of us finally waking up from this. So we kind of have to figure this shit out now. And the Industrial Revolution did not solve itself. It did not become good for people on its own. We really had to get in there and put guardrails in place. And these companies will tell us we don't need to do that. It'll just have the free market will figure it out. But we obviously need to do more than that. And in the meantime, these companies aren't going to want to save money, and they aren't going to want to be left behind. And they do have investors who are universally wanting to hear how they are using AI to make them more money. And while that is happening, the one tool we're going to continue to have is to yell and shame these companies, or yell at and shame these companies and the people responsible for these decisions. So people should definitely keep at that. And
but if all those gamers are distracted right now with woke and DEI. Oh, that's weird.
I heard Anita Sarkeesian's back, and we should be fucking pissed about that. Yeah,
that's the problem. It's not, it's not completely eliminating the human element from games.
It's almost like they're using people's inherent hatred of women against them to divide them, so they don't see who's really responsible for all the reason everything is terrible. But that can't be true,
Chuck. Oldest trick in the book. Yeah,
it just can't be the case.
Yeah.
All right, let's stick with Capcom here. Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake is heading much stronger in the horror direction. This is from my Nintendo News. Resident Evil insider Dusk Gollum has shared a little more about what he has heard recently about the rumored Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake over at Capcom. Golem says that the team is fully like just saying like Golem as if it's like his last name. Golem says that the team is fully embracing horror and is pushing the remake to go further in that direction. He says that of course there will be plenty of action sequences, but they wanted to retain a dark horror style atmosphere. I don't really think that they are at this point. Code Veronica Remake is going in a much stronger horror direction than the original Code Veronica. Excuse me. Still has silly stuff and action stuff, but the horror aspect is increased in the remake. And all of Capcom's data tells them that horror is constantly the most successful, well-liked, and standout moments for players. Capcom is a very data-based company, and every data point for them shows that they should embrace horror more. Resident Evil 9 was a project long in development that changed multiple times and wanted to try to capture every Resident Evil game in different sections, give shades of the whole franchise. It has shades of literally every RE game in it, and now they're going to kind of maybe go back to focusing on one concept for these remakes. To me, that sounds like probably the right choice. I really liked Requiem because it did everything, and it was pretty good at bouncing back and forth. But coming out of it, I agree with everyone's sort of generally held assessment that the best parts were the scarier parts, they were the grace parts, and that it was sort of a fun reprieve to get to go play as Leon. But then when I go to replay that game, I am definitely like kind of doing the thing where I'm like, I'm playing through all the Grace stuff, and then I get to the Leon stuff, and maybe I'll put it down for a bit and I don't go back. I'm glad it was there on my first playthrough, but It's obvious at this point that the scary horror elements of the first part, really just plays to the strengths of Resident Evil. So yeah, I'm welcoming this, Chuck. How about you?
Yeah, Leon is a pacing tool, right? That's what you're
Yes.
describing. So I never played Code Veronica. Was there ever a remaster of this?
No. There's like re-releases, but it's like ports, updated ports, but never really a major remaster. And yes, this will be the first remake, obviously.
This is an extremely well-reviewed game on its release. This is a game that
it was
suffered from being trapped on it wasn't on exclusively on Dreamcast, was it, or was it?
It eventually went to a bunch of places, but yeah, it was at Dreamcast first.
Yeah, and I see lots of people in chat begging for this, wanting this remake. Yeah, this sounds sick. I would love a full horror Resident Evil game. I will say I'm not a scaredy cat. I can handle a lot, but I loved the Leon breaks. But I don't know if that's possible in a game like this. I wonder if this had some camp elements that broke stuff up, but I just need to go play some old Resident Evils. Requiem was my only Resident Evil game. I think going back at this point, especially if you go back to the PlayStation games, because I'm also a scaredy cat. They're gonna spook you here or there, or they're gonna jump scare you, but they're a lot easier to go down these days because they just aren't as scary as they once were. And then you get all the great sort of atmosphere of Resident Evil still, and the fun cheesy acting. They're great to go back to. What I was saying. Sorry, this is what I was saying earlier about a company that's in a position with one of their temple franchises to be able to go do remakes, remasters, and then bounce back to doing get multiple studios kind of spinning those plates. That rules. That's a really great spot to be in.
Yeah, it looks super efficient. It looks it feels like they got it all figured out, and we'll see how AI fucks it up for them. All right, Nintendo won't focus on making Switch 2 games exclusively. Switch 1 remains important. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa has stressed how vital it is for the company to keep driving sales of Switch 1 games, even though the Switch 2 has come to market. During the company's latest earnings brief, Furukawa said, "I believe it's important that we consider how to expand the entire software business, including titles for both Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. He said Nintendo should take this approach as opposed to focusing only on sales of Nintendo Switch 2 software. Furukawa said that this is in response to a question about the slowed sales of Switch 2 exclusive Mario Kart World after the company discontinued the hardware bundle that included the game. The executive said Mario Kart World remains an important title for Nintendo and that he expects it to continue to sell throughout the life cycle of the Switch 2. Furukawa also addressed Nintendo's forecast that it would sell 60 million games during the current fiscal year that ends March 31st, 2027. He said that number is lower than some might have expected because it does not include bundled software like it did for the Switch 2's first fiscal year when the Mario Kart World bundle was available. All right, let's talk about this Switch 1 thing here. So they have one game right now, I think, like that is from them, that is a Switch 1 game first, and that is Rhythm Heaven Groove. Now, they are coming off of Tomodachi Life, which just happened and is also a Switch 1 game and doesn't even have a Switch 2 version yet. But they have not announced anything else. You know, they are probably going to have a direct here in June, and I guess they could announce some new Switch 1 games. But what do you think this is? Is this them sort of like placating investors a little bit, but trying to remind them, hey, we have this thing that has 155 million units out there, and we're going to keep selling to that audience, so don't freak out about us saying we're going to sell slightly fewer Switch 2s this next fiscal year. Is it just that simple?
So earlier I talked about, do you want to be a hardware company or a software company? Nintendo, if I'm them, I think this is a bad idea to continue to float Switch 1. You had a really good life cycle for that console. You do need to be pushing Switch 2 sales. You need to be focused on putting out quality Switch 2 games that use the full capabilities of the hardware. I don't like this. I think it's a poor idea, but I get the quarterly mindset of like why you want to do this. Because you do have that install base and you can sell games to them and you can make money, print money with that thing. But I think long term it's just a poor idea, and it is a response to obviously like hardware and AI chomping on memory. They're having their price increase. When does that kick in? It's like
September 1st for most of the world. Yeah, a little bit by the end of May in Japan, but that's a completely different thing. Yeah,
that's tough. I don't like the business bastard man of like, we need to put exclusives on our new stuff to sell those, but like Nintendo specifically is the one out of anyone we've talked about today in a position to do exactly that, and they should be doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is they're in a tough position because they probably do want to get people excited about the Switch 2. I bet most of the games they have coming out are actually Switch 2 exclusives, but it is a very different story than what happened from the 3DS to the Switch 1. By the time the Switch 1 was out, that audience was very ready to put away their 3DSs, regardless of how great that system actually was. And it was, people were just done buying games for it. And we saw that, Mario and Luigi remake from Alpha Dream came out and no one bought it. WarioWare Gold came out and no one bought it. And these were pretty good games. I mean, the WarioWare Gold game was very good, but just no one bought it. And it kind of hurt those franchises. And in the Mario and Luigi case, closed down Alpha Dream. They made no money from this big project that they spent a lot of money making, and it caused them to have to close down. But that was because they went from the 3DS to the Switch, and you could not play 3DS games on the Switch 1. Now, the Switch 2 can play Switch 1 games, and I think Nintendo's like, hey, we have already got a couple examples of games that were Switch 1 games doing very well and selling well on the Switch 2 as well, and no one's really sort of batting an eye. Tomodachi Life, 40% of players are playing on Switch 2, and no one's complaining that it doesn't have these, X feature or Y feature. Now, I wish it had a mouse mode. I do wish it had a Switch 2 version, but I'm not really thinking about that all that much while playing that game. So I think they're like, okay, we can get away with it a lot more this time around. And then there's all of these macroeconomic reasons to be doing this. The rising price of components, selling Switch 2s is going to be a little bit more challenging. We had to raise the price. That's not even covering our costs, says Furukawa. So another price increase could be in the cards for the future. It could continue to get worse. So them keeping the Switch 1 around, it just feels like a little bit of an escape hatch for them of like, hey, we got to find ways to keep making money as the uncertainty continues to build. In a world that is already very uncertain. All right. 3D platformer Garfield Escape from Monday announced for Switch 1. Let's go.
Finally. Holy shit.
Microids, along with Awesome Games, or Awesome Studio, I should say, today unveiled Garfield Escape from Monday for Nintendo Switch. The game is due out on September 24th, 2026. It is a veggie-filled 3D platformer. In it, players will need to help the tabby cat wake up from his nightmare by exploring different worlds.
So is he being plagued by vegetables?
I think he's being plagued by vegetables. Right. Yes, we got to hack this game, Chuck, and replace it with Mike Minotti and fruit.
On Nintendo Switch? Grubb, I'm not doing any hacking of any Nintendo properties, okay?
This game's got to be on other stuff. I got this story from Nintendo Everything. I'm assuming, Chad, is this coming out elsewhere, or is it really just for Switch? But
That'd
yeah,
be a crazy license game to go put out on one thing.
yes, absolutely.
That'd be pretty weird.
Although those kinds of like kid family games do sell on Switch more than they sell anywhere else.
Right.
All right, and then last story here. Concerned Ape says,
whoa. We do have to shout out and
Please.
talk about Gerstmann and Gerstfield. Did you ever watch him play those?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, this I didn't mean to mention that this is the news for the other Jeff G. And we'll make sure that I'll send this over to him. Make sure he knows what's happening over here, everybody.
I'm sure this is the most important thing that'll happen to him today is reading about this.
Here's the thing: it's like I know what it's like to have something be associated with you, and like how people will make sure you know. I bet already just probably somewhere between 50 and 100 ats at him on like Blue Sky about this game, and that's just
too easy.
Oh, Bubsy, you're here. ConcernedApe says Haunted Chocolatier is way bigger than Stardew Valley. This is from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. That's really the story here. I mean, it's way bigger than Stardew Valley, at least in terms of the amount of maps, the amount of monsters, the depth of the whole item system, and all the equipment slots and all the stuff like this. Everything is cranked up. I think that this is something we see from a lot of indie devs, especially ones that have success in their first game and they have time and money to work on the next one. I think they feel an obligation to do even more the next time around as to not disappoint their fans. And it can lead to things getting bigger and out of hand and taking 10 to 15 years for the follow-up to happen, especially as ConcernedApe continues updating Stardew Valley, which is happening constantly. In fact, I think he put Haunted Chocolatier aside for a while, to work even more on Stardew Valley. Sounds like back at it with Haunted Chocolatier. But yeah, is it when you hear that, does that excite you? Because for me, I'm like, I don't know, just get out of like something streamlined, get it out there, and then spend years updating that the way you have Stardew Valley. But I think that's me, someone who gets a lot of games as part of my job. I bet this is music to the ears of people who are like, this will be my game for the next decade.
Yeah. Have you gone back to Stardew Valley recently?
Not recently. Actually, no, I did to play with the Steam controller a little bit, but I didn't see anything new in there. I was just poking around.
Yeah, I mean, he added completely new like islands, I think, that you can like sail to, and it could be like a lot. You're like, oh shit, but there's also like tons of quality of life features. I think that's primarily what he's done on Stardew Valley in particular, like multiplayer. That game did not ship with multiplayer. He added that later, I think.
Yep,
if I remember correctly.
That
was my game of the year that year.
Right.
I adore Stardew Valley. Eric Barone is one of my game development heroes. He's the man. I love that I don't love this, but it's funny watching him get chased by misinformation because of how much people love the shit that he puts out. Yeah. And that's like a cool spot to be in. I trust his like vision for game development. So if he wants to make something bigger, more maps, more variety, like absolutely do your thing, man. He doesn't miss. I mean, he's made one game, but it didn't miss. All right. So do your thing for sure.
All right. We're going to get to the poll question here in a second. But let's see here. Aaron Lime with the super chat. Capcom and Konami are cooking. Sega moving off games as a service and focusing on those reboots instead. And Square promising a big 2027. Japanese publishers seem to have it figured out. I'll say that I tend to agree with that. And I think Square Enix might be the best example in a way because they were doing things one way. They said that this isn't working, and then they changed. And now I think we're witnessing that change happen. I don't think they've delivered on like, sort of like what that change means, but you could see that they are trying to shift to like their way of doing things to once again maybe be a little bit more like Capcom. So yeah, we'll see. But it's like if Square Enix can do it, a company I think was once also a little bit of a punchline of, oh my God, look at the decisions this company makes. It's like, does feel like they understand what they're doing wrong. Maybe they could sort of sort it out. I think they are going to have a really good 2027. All right, let's see here. The poll question from Monday. Let me get this out of the way. Are you going to get Forza Horizon 5 at the early access price on Friday? Yes or no?
We also posted it. I think you posted it again.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, did I post it again? Okay, yes. So we got it. Okay. Are you going to grab? Yeah, I didn't see this. I'm sorry about that. Thanks, Jan. Appreciate it. Are you going to grab the Forza Horizon 6 Premium Bundle, $120 to play early? Yes or no? 6% said yes, 94% said no in the first poll. And on the second poll, 7% said yes, and 93% said no.
Read the first poll, like the newest poll, word for word.
The newest one?
Oh.
Yes. Are you going to get Forza Horizon 5 at the early access price on Friday? Oh man, that's a different number than the game that's actually coming out, isn't it? Yes. I rushed to do it because I didn't. I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell Jam what the actual wording was, and then there it is. That shows how much I pay attention. All right, yeah. So people are saying 1 out of 20 people are saying yes. That adds up when you have a franchise like Forza Horizon that so many people play. We know that Forza Horizon 5 did have like 1 million people playing in early access. So yeah, again, that's $120, and oof, that's a big number though. All right, we'll have a new poll question here in a second. First though, Chuck, you want to tell people like where they can find you on the internet and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm chucktowski.com on Blue Sky. That's mostly where I shit post. You can also find me on giantbomb.com. I have a premium show, 9 Lives. I think it might damn well be the best Skyrim show on giantbomb.com if I do say so myself. My creep cluster is right here in the Discord call right now. Grubb and Jan are on that. You should watch 9 Lives. It goes places, and it's going to continue to go places. Also, I do want to set a stream schedule for like my personal stream. I'm Chucktowski on Twitch as well. I keep thinking about Deus Ex. What if I just streamed Deus Ex and I just beat Deus Exes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would like that. Would you start with the original Deus Ex or what?
I want recommendations. Maybe.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Very cool.
But thanks for having me on. I love the show. It's a great part of my morning.
I appreciate you being here, Chuck. Thank you so much. All right, let's see here. New poll question. Did you get Saros? Yes or no? We will get the results of that on tomorrow's show here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, yeah, right after we're done, the Donkey Kong Marathon continues. Mike's getting right back in them mines, and he's going to be playing for a very long time today, everybody. So get in there, root him, go root for him, cheer him on. And if you can, support the website. Become a new premium member. Add to that bar. We already have met the first incentive. He is locked in to 101%ing that game. He's going to get all those bananas and then all of the other collectibles. I think he's on pace to maybe beat the game late on Friday. So, stick with us this week. Watch it. We'll see. Maybe not, but it seems like he might
distract him, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we should probably be adding more Apple things to the soundboard, is what I'm saying. We also got some other stuff in the works. I've been playing Forza Horizon 6. We'll have coverage of that here pretty soon. Keep an eye on the website for all of that and more.
We put books out, Mixtape and in Forbidden Solitaire. Grubb and we tag teamed those. I think they turned out great. I like those games. I like both of them.
I like both. Yeah. They're not. I don't think either's like going to rock the world, or if they do for maybe bad reasons, but they are enjoyable games for sure.
Yep.
All right. I think with all that out of the way, Chuck, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. No problem.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming, as proof by what's happening in those Donkey Kong streams. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.